Hi there everyone. This presentation is for ENG3K and is on the Volkswagen emissions scandal. This presentation was created by Andrew Brown, Emily Seknick, and Mark Jacob. Let's go into a bit more about what the Volkswagen emissions scandal was. So in 2006, Volkswagen sought to design new engines to compete in the US market. But due to strict regulations, it made it difficult for them to engineer such a low emission vehicle. Now let's look at the diesel engine a bit more in detail. They're notoriously known for their high NOx emissions. But Volkswagen promised high mileage and low emissions for their new TDI engines, which was the root of the problem. After pressure from their former CEO, Martin Winterkorn, this led to the creation of a defeat device. This scandal was then later regarded as a lack of vision or innovation from Winterkorn and his team. So what is a defeat device? When a car is being emissions tested, it recognizes that it is going through this emissions testing process and thus disguises its emission levels. So this provides false results when tested in the laboratories versus when it's actually on the streets. In total, over 500,000 cars in the US were fixed with this device and 100,000 in Canada. So how far over the limit were the cars? Provided by this infographic, you can see the US limit, and then you can see as well how far over the limit that these Volkswagen cars went.
Now we'll take a look at the ethical dilemma that was faced by some of the software engineers at Volkswagen who ultimately created this defeat device. So these software engineers were under a lot of pressure from upper management to make the vehicles pass so that they could be sold within the large US market. The same upper management also claimed that it was only a few rogue software engineers who created this defeat device and they didn't know that it was actually being done. This is highly unlikely when you see how widespread the defeat device was within the Volkswagen family. This includes companies such as Volkswagen, Audi, and Porsche, who all had this device installed within their vehicles. Engineers in Ontario are regulated under the Professional Engineers Act, and the software engineers who created the cheat device installed in the Volkswagen diesel engines would have been found guilty of professional misconduct under Section 72.2b of the Act. They would have been found guilty because the device that they installed allowed the vehicles to emit emissions over 40 times higher than the government regulated standards. And these standards are set in place because these emissions are known to cause health problems in the population. Professional Engineers Act also contains the Code of Ethics, which sets the gold standard that all engineers should strive to attain. Section 77.13 of the Code of Ethics states that an engineer should have a devotion to high ideals of professional integrity. I think we can all agree that both the software engineers and the upper management, who are also engineers at Volkswagen, did not have any level of professional integrity when it came to developing the cheat device. The Professional Engineers Act protects any engineer who wishes to report the wrongdoings of any other engineer or any employer within Ontario. So under these provisions, either Volkswagen should have reported their few rogue engineers who created this cheat device, or those same rogue engineers could have reported Volkswagen for mandating that they develop a device which will circumvent regulations. Now that we've taken a look at the ethical wrongdoings of the engineers at Volkswagen in the creation of their cheat device, we'll take a look at some of the legal issues which were faced by Volkswagen as a result of the actions of these supposed few rogue software engineers.
One of the laws Volkswagen broke was the Environmental Protection Act, not only in the United States, but in Canada as well. In Section 203 of the Clean Air Act, it prohibited the manufacturing, selling, or installation of defeat devices which bypass the EPA standards. There was a fine of $38,000 per offense. And as well, vehicles cannot be sold in the United States unless they pass emission standards testing. Similarly, in Canada, there is a maximum of a $6 million fine per each offense. As well, these vehicles cannot be sold in Canada unless they pass emissions testing. Now let's review another law that Volkswagen broke, which was Section 72.2d of the Professional Engineers Act, which is the failure to make reasonable provisions for complying with applicable regulations in regards to work being undertaken by the practitioner, with the practitioner being Volkswagen. They purposely went around the applicable regulations by installing this defeat device to cheat the system. Volkswagen was later responsible to report to the Environmental Protection Agency and the Ontario Ministry of Environment, who actually were knocking down Volkswagen's head office doors in Ajax, Ontario.
Volkswagen and its engineers faced many ethical and legal issues in developing their cheat device. So this scandal is a great example of what not to do as an engineer, and also to understand the legal repercussions of such unethical actions. So thank you for watching, and remember, Volkswagen cheated and got burned. Don't be Volkswagen.